roared with laughter. King John frowned, for he didn't relish being the object of a deception. But soon he joined in and laughed with the others. The more he laughed, the more pleased he was with the entertainment. So, in the end, he gave the abbot a pardon and the shepherd a rich present for himself. The Snake and the Dreams. In a certain land there was once a king who had a strange dream, as he slept from the roof of the palace. When he awoke, he remembered the dream and couldn't get it out of his mind. At last he called his ministers and counselors before him, asking if they could interpret the meaning of the fox hanging from the roof. They couldn't help him, and as his recollection of the dream continued to trouble him, he at last commanded that there be a great conference in the city, and that everyone in the kingdom should attend. His hope was that among all the citizens of the country there would be someone wise enough to give him the answer. The people began to assemble. One of those who came was a poor farmer named Ivan. On the way to the city, he came to a rocky place where the road was narrow. Lying in the center of the road, he saw a snake. Ivan paused, and as he did so, the snake spoke to him, saying, "Good day. Where are you going?" Ivan told him about the king's command. "But what is the use of it all?" Ivan asked. "How can I tell the king what his dream means?" "There will be a reward for the man who gives the king the right answer," the snake said. "Promise you share the reward with me, and I will tell you what to say." Ivan was glad. He said, "Certainly I will share with you if you tell me the correct answer. Half will be yours and half will be mine, and in addition I will be everlastingly grateful." "Then here is the answer," the snake said. "The dream of the fox hanging from the palace roof means that there is cunning, deceit, and treachery in the kingdom." The farmer thanked him and went to the city. When Ivan was brought before the king, and he interpreted the dream as the snake had advised him, so pleased was the king with the answer that he gave Ivan money and valuable presents. But when Ivan was ready to leave, he said to himself, "Why should I share these riches with a snake?" And he returned to his village by a different road. Later, the king had another dream that troubled him. In this dream he saw a sword hanging from the roof. He sent for Ivan because Ivan had given so wise an explanation of the first dream. Ivan was now afraid, for he knew he had no special talents for explaining dreams. There was no choice but to look for the snake. He went to the narrow road, but he saw no snake there. He called for him, saying, "The snake, come out for a moment. I must talk to you." He kept calling until at last the snake came out of his hole. "What troubles you, and what do you want of me?" the snake asked him. "The king has had another dream," Ivan said. "What shall I tell him?" "I will give you the answer if you share the reward with me," the snake promised. "I will share, I promise," Ivan replied. "Tell the king that the sword hanging from the roof is a sign of coming war," the snake said. "Enemies are plotting against him. Bloodshed is at hand. The king must prepare to defend the country." Ivan thanked the snake and went on to the city. When the king asked him for an interpretation of the dream, he repeated what the snake had said. Again the king was deeply impressed, and he gave Ivan many valuable presents. But Ivan became angry at the thought of having to share with the snake. He came to the place where the snake was waiting. The snake said, "Now, give me half, which is mine." "I will give you nothing but trouble," Ivan shouted. He drew his knife and attacked the snake, which turned and fled into its hole. But just as it was disappearing, Ivan brought the knife down and cut off the snake's tail. Then he went on home, thinking no more of the matter and rejoicing in his new wealth. Time passed. A war came as predicted, but the king's armies were victorious. Then the king had another dream. This time he saw a sheep hanging from the roof. Again Ivan was sent for, and this time he was worried and afraid, for he said, "How can I go now to the snake for help? I have deceived it and wounded it with my weapon." But he had no choice, so he went by the same road, and when he came to the rocky place, he called the snake until at last it came. Ivan told of his problem, and the snake answered as before, If you promise to give me half your reward, I will give you the answer. I will do it, said Ivan. Then here is the answer to the king's dream, the snake said. The sheep hanging from the roof means that everywhere now there is peace in the land, and that people are contented. Ivan went to the palace and gave the king the answer. So pleased was the king with what he heard that he gave Ivan more presents and more money than ever before. This time Ivan came back by the same route, and he found the snake waiting. He gave half his presents to the snake, saying, "You have been patient with me, even though I abused you. Here is half of what I received this time, and when I return home I will send you half of what I received before. Please forgive me for the way I treated you." The snake listened and replied, "Don't feel too badly about what has happened. It wasn't your fault. The first time, if you remember the king's dream of the fox, the land was full of deceit, hypocrisy, and treachery. You too were a deceiver, for you went home by another road so as to avoid me. But you were simply one among many, and deceit was in the air. The second time, if you remember, was a time of war, quarrels, and assassination. Cruelty was everywhere. You were only one of many, and your brutality in cutting off my tail was a brutality shared by everyone. But now that peace hangs over us all, like everyone else, you are generous and just, and you share your gifts with me. Go, brother, and may peace remain with you. I have no need of your wealth." And the snake went away and disappeared into its hole. Paul Bunyan's Cornstalk.